Hello, so this video is to show you how to set up, create new lines and administrate those new lines on the Kontrol4.0 dashboard. So I've logged on to the page and I've navigated to the line tab here on the left hand side. On this you can see a list of active lines assigned to your user, and in the top right hand corner there's a button here with a plus saying create new line. You need to click on this. That will then bring up a page with a whole load of information that needs populating as you set the line up for the new pallet wrapper you're going to install this unit on. So the first thing is the name of the line, what do you actually call it. We typically would name this with the customer name dash their whatever they call that particular line, for example line 1 or line 2. You then select the machine type, whether that's a single head or a dual head pallet wrapping machine. Populate the serial number for the machine, the actual pallet wrapper that you're installing the control unit on, and its location. The next piece of information to complete and populate is the tail mass. So this is the weight of the film between the stretch head and the gripper arm on fully automatic pallet wrappers, or the pallet itself on semi-automatic pallet wrappers. To get this weight, we'd recommend cutting 2 or 3 tails off and weighing 2 or 3 and taking an average, and typically it's between 10 and 15 grams of film. At the same time, you also need to take the length. So this tail length is, once again, it discards any readings taken below this tail length as a non-complete cycle. So when you measure the weight of the tail mass, also measure the length, typically between 1.2 and 1.5 meters long. Film width, that's the width of the film being applied to the pallet. Obviously the standard is 500, but you could also have a 750 and sometimes 1000mm wide film, so you just populate that in there. The thickness of the film in microns, so typically between 10 and 30 micron. Film density will automatically populate. This is based on an average density of LLDP. However, if you have a more specific figure for the specific film you're using that you'd like to populate, you can change that here. And the same applies for CO2. So CO2 impacts 2.2 kgs of CO2 per kg of stretch film. Also based on some average numbers we have, but if you'd like to change that for a more specific number, you can change that in here. Then you need to measure the diameter of the first stretch roller in millimeters using a caliper and input that in here. You need to input the number of magnets you've used on that roller to sense it. So typically we'd put 2 magnets on, but for a particularly big cog or stretch gear you might use 4 magnets. Same then for the second pre-stretch roller or the fast roller. So you put the diameter and the number of magnets on it. And then finally the number of magnets used to measure rotations, whether that be on the turntable, on the arm or the ring itself. Typically we'd put 1, but there are certain instances where you might choose to use 2 magnets. And then your film cost and the unit of measure you'd like to measure that film cost in, whether that be pounds, euros or dollars. And then the distributor that this line is being assigned to. Then save that. That will open the line page for the line you've just set up. It'll be blank at the moment, there's no information being loaded to it yet. You can then come up to here to edit the line, and from here you download the wrapper configuration for the wrapper head. That's the unit on the stretch head itself, and then if you've installed a machine interface, you can also download the configuration here. So you click on here, that will come up with a download file. Sometimes it blocks it, Chrome will block it sometimes, so you just need to click on here and download unverified file, and that will then be in your downloads. That file then needs cutting and pasting into the SD card and loading onto the control unit. Once you've done that and reset the control unit and made sure it's connected, we recommend running a test program and coming back to the dashboard and making sure your data appears here under the latest palette information. And once you've done that, we can then use the programs tab to set up new programs. So the ID is the number of the program 1, 2, 3 or 4 for example. The program name is what the customer might call it, so they might call it by their product name or whatever's coming through. We then need to put the minimum stretch expected for that particular program and the maximum stretch expected for that program, the minimum weight expected for that program and the maximum weight expected for that program, and finally then the minimum number of wraps expected for that program and the maximum wraps expected for that program. You can save that there. That will then populate under the line details, and you can then make that an active program. If you have the machine integrated using the machine interface, that will automatically select the program based on the program ID of provided to it by the PLC of the pallet wrapper. If you haven't integrated the machine using interface, it's a matter of manually clicking on here and choosing which active program you want to show on the dashboard, and then when you come back to the dashboard here, that data will show on here and in the latest pallet information as well. Finally, if you set up a line that you then want to delete, that can be done down here. So you click on delete line and then click on confirm. As this was a demo line that I set up, I'm now going to delete that. So I've done that there, and it'll take you back to the lines page, and you can see our demo lines now drop back off the list of active lines. So that's a summary of how to set up and create new lines on the Kontrol4.0 dashboard.